Tonight we have a gentleman speaking, usually chairing this thing. He is my sponsor, has led me through this journey, helped me identify within the book using the verbiage that we use throughout this meeting, and it truly helped guide my way into recovery as it stands today. I appreciate this man very much. He's like a brother to me. Tonight we're on step 5, and Tommy is our speaker.
Thank you, Jimmy. My name's Tommy. I'm a recovered drug addict.
Hey, Tommy.
I had a really powerful experience on step 5, man. It's like really when I bought into this stuff. I'm going to give a little background on me before I get into this book and like step 5. I prayed with my sponsor before this, and he asked God for me to not say anything stupid up here, because the last thing you guys wanted to hear late on a Wednesday night is a shitty lead. So that's what I'm going into this with, man. Yeah, man. I'm from South Jersey. I was born premature and addicted to heroin. Drug addict family. Pretty much all my siblings, both my parents. My father was in prison pretty much my whole life, man, and my mom was on and off abusing substances, and I was in and out of like foster care and stuff. And I kind of just want you guys to know what like type of mind I come in here with, man, because when I came into this deal, like I had like a victim mentality, man. A lot of self-pity. I really like identified with my trauma and all this stuff, and I use it as like a manipulation tactic, really. Like if I could make you feel bad for me, I could get what I wanted out of you, type of thing. And I come into this thing, man, and I find out that, and really, I thought that that's why I got loaded. Like, my life, my circumstances in life is why I got loaded, and that, like, you couldn't have told me any different, man. Like, if you had my life, you would have shot dope too, kind of thing. And I come in here, man, and I find out that I just like to get loaded because I like the way it makes me feel, man. And more than anything, I like to get loaded because I like the way it makes me feel a lot more than when I'm sober, man. And I remember, like people would ask me, like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why do you keep doing this? Like, you're killing yourself. Like, I would bounce back for a little bit, and then I would go on like a hellacious run again. And my family just is baffled, you know. Friends are like, why are you doing this to yourself, man? And the truth of the matter is, if somebody knew how I felt when I was sober, they would fully understand why I was doing what I was doing, man. This is the only thing that ever gave me like any type of relief. I felt like I needed it to function all the way up until the day I got sober, man. I would have told you that. I told this to somebody the day before I got sober, that I think that I'm like a special case that like needs opiates on his opiate receptors to function through life. I said that to somebody out front of detox, man. Like, and I believed that shit. Like, I fully believed that was true. 'Cause this is the only thing that ever helped me. Like, I just always felt so uncomfortable in my own skin, man, growing up. Like, I switched schools a lot, and for a guy that like really has like this fear of not fitting in, I would like do everything in my power to not fit in. Like, I bounced around schools a lot, so I went to different types of schools, man. I went to like school in the ghetto, and there I'm dressed like a skater with long hair, and then my mom gets her stuff together a little bit. We moved to the suburbs, and now I want to be a gangbanger, man. And like, I'm like forcibly not fitting in at this point. And that's how I just walk through life, man. And I can't figure out a way. And I'll say and do whatever to make you like me, man. Like, I'm like a chameleon, like walking through life, man. And I will do whatever it takes to like have you like me. And you know, I remember the first time I got like an effect produced from anything was alcohol when I was like 13 years old. Me and my cousin Albie. We were my sister was going into the Marines, and there was like a party, and he had brought a bottle of Jägermeister, and we decided to like go walk around the hood drinking this stuff, man. And I don't know if I felt like 10 foot tall and bulletproof, man, but I just felt okay. Like, I felt like I could breathe a little bit, and that was the first time in my life that I felt like, all right, this is all right, you know. And I do that, man, and I do whatever I can get my hands on through my teenage years, as much as like a bum teenager can get loaded. I did, you know. whatever I could put in me, man. And when I was 18, my mom like died of a heroin overdose, and I really thought that this is what sent me off the deep end, man. I remember I had to like try this substance to see what could make somebody like throw away their whole life and not take care of 8 kids and all this stuff. And like I felt like she was choosing this stuff over me. Now I have a very different outlook on this, but at the time I felt like she was choosing heroin over me. So I wanted to try this stuff, and boy, I fell in love, man. Like I had a spiritual experience the first time I did that stuff. I was like, I'm gonna do this forever. Like I'm gonna do whatever it takes to do this forever. Just like give you like some perspective on that. Like so up to this point, like I was like a high ranked player on Xbox, on Madden, like top 20 in the world. The day I did heroin, man, I pawned my Xbox the next day, dude. Like I was like, this is it for me, man. Because I thought I found this like this cure to all my problems, man. And if that stuff was still working for me like that first time, I wouldn't be here. Like you'd have Jimmy speaking or something. But if it still worked like it did then, man, but it doesn't, man. And I chased that stuff to the depths of hell. There was like from 18 to 22, you can pretty much sum that up of like being homeless in an alleyway in Camden and just selling myself to get this stuff, man. And that's how bad I wanted this stuff. And like this is the type of stuff that I'm walking into this fifth step with, where like I'm not gonna tell this guy this stuff, man. This is like embarrassing. Really, I don't really want to admit this kind of thing, man. And some other stuff that I was just embarrassed about, man. But I moved down here at like 22, man. I had this like really bad abscess on my arm, and I ended up in the hospital for a couple weeks. And my brother like calls me while I'm in the hospital, and he says that I don't want you to die like Jimmy died. That was our brother. He overdosed, and I want you to come to Florida. And the only condition on that was like you go to these meetings. And I didn't know what that meant, man, but I knew that I didn't want to live in an alleyway anymore and stick needles in my arm and sell my body for heroin. I knew that I didn't want to do that. So I said yes, and I get on this Greyhound, man, and I come down here, and I start going to these meetings, and I don't know. I went to 12-step meetings and didn't work the 12 steps, and I kept getting loaded, and I couldn't figure out why, man. And At one point, I put together like a little over a year. I was working some steps like half-assed, and this book kind of talks about that, man, with this fifth step deal. Like I didn't really do a thorough 4 and 5, and like it says, invariably we got drunk again, or they got drunk again. That's what happened to me, man. I got loaded again, and I went on like the worst run of my life, like pretty much 3 years of just nonstop. And like in this time, I get this girl pregnant, man, and I'm so sure this whole pregnancy that I'm going to be the father that I didn't have. I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to be a sober dad for sure, man. And I go through this whole pregnancy with that mindset, and I just keep moving the goalpost. Like I'll get sober tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes, and it doesn't really feel like a good day to get sober anymore. And I do that all the way until the water breaks, man. And I'm loaded when the water breaks. And I'm like, all right, now I got to tighten up, man. Now I got to get sober. And she goes into labor. We have this kid, and he's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. She just sent me a video of him when I was walking in here. And it just puts a smile on my face every time, man. And he's just the most perfect thing ever seen in my life. And like this book talks about like a firm resolution. This is like that firm resolution that it's talking about, man. And this really depicts my powerlessness, because I'm laying there with him on my chest that night, and you could have hooked me to a lie detector test. I'm never getting loaded again, ever. Like I'm gonna be there for this kid, man. And 8 hours later, this head starts chewing on me, this head that, and it's not telling me to get loaded right away, right? It's telling me you're a piece of shit, you'll never be a good dad, you might as well just go get loaded, this kid's better off if you die. And then it says, you know what, just grab her phone, Venmo yourself some money, and go on a run, man. And I went back and forth on this stuff for like 2 hours, and I finally did it, man. And she took me back because she's a codependent, but that's besides the point. that's another thing. Like, I go into this fifth step, man. Like, I don't want to admit that I robbed my kid's mother the day my son was born, man. That's not like, I don't know. It's not what I would call cool, you know? I wish I had some cool stuff on this fist. I had nothing, dude. Just a bunch of weird and scumbag stuff. That's it. No cool stuff at all. Not even one thing. And then I fly back to Philadelphia to be homeless, man, and completely abandon this kid, man. I'm not even thinking about her or this kid, really. I'm not thinking about that she's crying herself to sleep every night, thinking her kid's father's dead in an alleyway in Kensington or something, and not even really thinking about that stuff, man. And that's like, I come into this and I really don't. I don't think about how I'm affecting other people, man, and how I'm like robbing their peace. Like, I'm making people lose sleep at night because of my actions, man. And I can't see past self until like I get into this work and like really see that like I just think about myself all the time, man. It's the only thing I think about ever, or what you're thinking about me. That's it. And I'm walking through life, my whole life like that, man. And I don't even know it until like I get into this work. And I don't know, man. I wish I could tell you what was like different this time, or that my ass was more whooped than any other time. But the truth of the matter is, like, it wasn't, man. Like, I've had worse bottoms than when I got sober, like physically. You know what I mean? I know that like this book talks about like being beaten into a state of reasonableness. I was that. I was done arguing. I was like, all right, what do I got to do? I was just telling Jeremy, man, when I was in treatment, I was just like throwing stuff at the wall. Like, I can't get loaded ever again, man. I don't know what I got to do, but I can't do this anymore. And that's like step 0, man. This shit's got to stop. And so I asked this guy comes in with H&I when I'm in detox, man, and he convinces me that he got loaded like I did. I don't believe that anymore, but I believed that then. and that's what matters, man, is I believed it then. And no, but really what he sold me on is how he felt when he was sober, man. Because I resonated with that so much, man. It was like you described it in a way I just had never been able to put this stuff into words, man. And I remember like always thinking that like if I could just get past this physical part, man, this dope sickness, I'll be in the clear, you know what I mean? And then I don't even realize that, like, as soon as that dope sickness goes away, this head starts chewing on me 10 times worse. I have no idea about any of that, man. And he kind of explained that in this H&I, and I asked him to sponsor me, and, like, when I get out of treatment, we jump right into this work, and he's like, he told me I was a special case. I think he's told that to all his guys, but he said that we got to get through this fast. I'll meet up with you twice a week to do these steps. And I was like, all right, man, I don't, at this point, I don't want to stick a needle in my arm anymore, man. I'm not really sold out on this AAA stuff that working for me. I got sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, man. I'm really grateful for this platform that we have, man, because I'm a junkie in every sense of the word. I qualify for this fellowship as well, but I did get sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. And at the time, I'm not really even sold that I'm an alcoholic, dude. I don't want to get low. I'm tired of hurting people, man. And above all, I'm tired of hurting myself. I'm tired of being suicidal. I'm tired of, like, praying to God that this is the last shot I do because I can't do this anymore. And like I said, whooped into a state of reasonableness, man. Like, this guy had found a way out, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll do it. Whatever you say, man. And like, we go through, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 quick and then get into this book a little bit. Like, 1, he basically summed it up, this meeting requests that we don't curse, but he said that you're screwed, man. Like, you're going to keep doing this stuff until, you're going to keep getting loaded until you die, whether you want to or not, or you're going to do this, man. And it's like that there is a solution reading that we read, like 2 options, man. Either go on like this or accept spiritual help. And I was to the point where I was like, all right, man, I'm out of ideas at this point. So this was the last house on the block for me. This was the last thing I was willing to try. I tried everything, even coming to meetings and not doing the steps. I tried that. It didn't work. So I was willing to do this, man. And 2, he basically just summed it up like, you can't do it by yourself, man. Like, you can't do this, like, on your own, man. Like, and that you gotta stop playing God. That's more like a 3 thing. But and then we get into 3, man, and he's like, this is just and thank God he didn't like hammer the God thing on me, man, because I would have ran the other way with a quickness. I was raised Catholic by a heroin addict, real prejudice toward, and really I've come a long way in this regard. But coming into this deal, man, I am just so closed off to the whole religion thing and God and all this stuff, man, even though he saved me countless times, man. And he didn't, man. He just said that, like, this is this is just a decision to do the rest of the steps, man. That's it. And I was like, all right, I'll do it, man. And it says, like, in this book that we launched on No Course of Vigorous Action, and he explained to me that, like, launch means, like, right away. Like, go, I want to say go home, but really it was like, go back to this homeless shelter and write this thing, man. Because that's where this stuff had brought me. And, that's what he told me on too, man. It was like, look how good it is doing it your way. Like, look how good, you're 29 years old, you're in a homeless shelter, you don't have a job. Look how good it's going your way. Like, maybe try something else. I was, like, trying to figure out too for a second there, but that's pretty much what he sold me on too. And so we do this 3rd step, man. I get on my knees and pray with this guy out front of this homeless shelter. And I don't know. I thought it was something for sure. I wasn't a big fan of it. I thought that it was going to be I thought it was going to be this, like, white light experience too. Like, we were going to get up, man, and I'm just, like, in the presence of God, right? And, like, God's all over me. I have to, like, catch the Holy Ghost, is what I'm hoping for. And none of that happens. None of it. Not even a little bit, man. I feel exactly the same. And I was kind of pissed off. I was like, this is all right. This ain't working for me, right? And but that launched on the Course of Vigorous Action, man. I go back up in this homeless shelter, man. I start writing this 4th step. And if it was just that, I would still be walking through life with the same mentality, man. I wouldn't have saw, from writing that stuff out, I wouldn't have saw any of it. None of it, man. Like, I have to go through this with another guy and, like, him point out all this stuff to me, because even, like, going into 5, I'm like, pretty sure that he's on all this resentment list. He's just going to agree with me that these people suck and they treated me really badly, and that's it. And we're just going to move on to these fears because, these resentments are all valid. And yeah, but I do that, man. I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I write this 4th step, man, and just want to get into this 5th step, man, in this book. And I just want to note that the chapter is called Into Action, not Into Thinking. It was explained to me that like God is in my feet, not in my mouth, man. And it says, having made a personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover obstacles in our path. We have admitted certain defects. We have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. Now these are to be cast out. This requires action on our part, which when completed will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. And to me now, man, all this 5th step is doing is having this, like, shift in perspective, man. Like, I just have to have this, like, small shift in my perspective towards life and how I'm viewing life, man, and I can go through with the rest of this stuff. And that's really all this thing's trying to do, man. And it says, this brings us to the 5th step in program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult, especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we have done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves. There is doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. That's that thing I was just talking about, man. Like, I self-deception can't spot self-deception, man. Like, the head I'm walking in here with is the same head I'm walking into this 5th step with, man. If I don't have a sponsor that's been through this stuff to point this stuff out to me, it's going to go right over my head. And we will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see the good reasons why we should do so. The best reason first, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome using. Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep themselves certain facts about their lives, trying to avoid this humbling experience. They have turned to easier methods. Almost invariably, they got drunk. having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. And I have this experience too, man. Like I had a sponsor in another fellowship, man, and I did 1, 2, and 3, and I'm doing all the other things that they tell you to do, man. But I'm not doing this 4-step because there's like certain stuff that I'm not telling anybody, man. And I'm not telling anybody all of me. Like I'll give like little pieces of me to Jimmy and little pieces of me to Jeremy and little pieces of me to Caleb, but nobody's going to know me fully, you know what I mean? Because I come in here with this fear that, like, if you know me, I'm not good enough, man. So if you know me, you're going to leave. Like, deep-seated, like, fear of abandonment, all this stuff, like, from my childhood, man, and it really just runs my life. And it has me running away from this kind of thing, man. Like, I'm never going to be this intimate with another person, man. I had never been up to this point, and I wasn't going to, man. And, I don't know. I wish I could tell you why I was willing to do this stuff this time, man. Like I said, it was like the last house on the block, and I was willing to do anything. And we think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. They took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense that we find it necessary until they told someone else all their life story. And I have that experience too, man, where I do this inventory thing with a sponsor and another fellowship, man, but I hold on to a lot of stuff that I'm just, this stuff that's going to the grave with me, man. And I'm just never going to tell anybody this stuff, man. And invariably, I got loaded again. And more than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He is very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents his stage character. This is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. Coming to his senses, he's revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. And that's me, man. I think that coming into this, man, like I present myself a certain way that I think you'll like me, man, and I can't show you the real me, and I lead this double life, and the stuff that I do on these runs, man, is just like disgusting, bottom of the barrel stuff. And it just compounds this problem, man. Like it just piles up shame and guilt of what I did. And I don't want anybody to know this stuff, man. And these memories are a nightmare. He trembles to think someone might have observed him. As fast as he can, he pushes these memories far inside himself. He hopes they will never see the light of day. He is under constant fear and tension. That makes for more using. And that's what I was just talking about, man. Like the shame and guilt piles up, and then I start using because of the shame and guilt, man. And then I start getting loaded because I can't stop getting loaded, and it just becomes a really, really dark place. And so psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. And that's true for me too, man. Like I had been in therapy since I was like 10 years old, man, but I never told one of these people the truth. I don't know if I really gave them a fair shake or not. I definitely didn't listen to what they had to say because I also come into this thinking I know everything, and also thinking that I'm like unique, man, and nobody gets me, especially not somebody that hasn't gotten loaded like I do. You definitely don't get me. And it's just whatever can keep me different from you, man, and keep me separate from you, that's what my head goes with. And it still does it to this day, man. It still does that to me. Like, it still tells me, like, oh, you don't fit in with these guys. It tells me, like, these BS resentments that I come up with in my head, man, that if I let this stuff pile up, all of a sudden, like, getting loaded don't sound like a bad idea anymore. And I heard a speaker say once that, like, if you do a proper 10-step, you'll never have to go back and do a 5th step. Well, I stopped doing a 10-step for a couple of weeks, man, and then I was ready to jump out of my skin from all this stuff that was building up in me, man, and I had to go back and do another 5th step with my sponsor and my grand sponsor, man. And I truly believe that, like, what kept me sober at the beginning when my ass was on fire and I just would do anything to not get loaded anymore is not what's going to keep me sober today. And I will say that, like, if I was doing a proper 10-step and, like, taking inventory, I wouldn't have had to do this. But doing this fifth step again was like it was a whole different perspective on this thing, man. Like I'm really seeing how, because going into this first one, man, all my problems center around getting loaded. Like all my fears, all that stuff is like when I get loaded. I stay sober for a little bit, man. All these fears are still present, and the drugs are gone. And I'm still so scared of not fitting in, and so scared of abandonment, and so scared of like not being the father that I want to be, man. And it just, and my grant sponsor said it when we were doing this fifth step, man. He's like, what are you going to let fear steal from you next? Because that's all it's doing, man, is it's stealing from you. And like psychologists call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like if you focus on this fear enough, you're going to make it come true. And I'm really glad that we did that fifth step, man. That price. These guys have saved my life repeatedly, but that definitely is another shift in perspective, man. Like I walked out of that with a whole new set of glasses towards the world, man. And I'm gonna skip the part where it talks about like who you should do this with. Do it with your sponsor. If you don't agree, ask your sponsor. When we decide, never mind. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drug problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel that we were on the broad highway walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe, man, and that's what happened to me, man, when I did this first fifth step. And I had so much stuff in me, man. I was carrying around stuff that I didn't even really know I was carrying around. And I get all this stuff out, man, and for the first time in my life, another person knows everything about me. I have nothing more hidden, man. Everything's on the table, man. And I didn't feel judged or anything like that. And he tells me this goes on to like sit quietly for an hour, man. And I go in and do that, man. And I felt the nearness of my Creator, man. That's all I can. If you haven't experienced it, I can't really put it into words, man. The guys in here that have felt this stuff know exactly what I'm talking about, man. Like, I felt the presence of God. I felt a peace about me that the dope never gave me, man. Never. It didn't even come close to the way that I felt after doing this, man. And I really became sold out on this 12-step deal and sold out on Alcoholics Anonymous and really dove into this stuff, man. And like, I run through the rest of these steps with my sponsor, and like, I get to sponsor guys today and like take them through it. And it's like such a beautiful experience, man. But if I had like left stuff out of this or like stuff that I didn't want to tell him, man, and I think I did a decent job, but like I didn't even want to hold on to this stuff any longer. I told him after the third step, like all the stuff that was like, it was really eating me that I didn't want to tell him, and I thought I was going to be judged for. And I didn't. I mean, he made a joke out of it, like he does. Like I told him like I used to sleep with guys for heroin. And he's like, I don't know, the opportunity never presented itself. I guess I wasn't cute enough. And I was like, all right. All right. But I didn't feel judged, man, above all else. And he told me some of his stuff. And I'm like, all right, I can do this, man. I can let it all rip. And we go through this. And like, he, like, if you've done this, at the end, they ask, like, is there anything you left out? And there was something, man, that I was really hanging on to. I was never going to tell anybody, but going through all this rest of this stuff, it was like, all right, whatever, man, I'll tell you this. And I felt free, man, like above all else. Like I never felt free in my life. I never felt comfortable in my own skin without dope. And that's what this stuff gave to me, man. And yeah, thank you guys for letting me do this, and thank you for my recovery.
Thanks, Bobby.